Welcome to Convos with Mortgage Peeps, presented by Learn to Lend. I'm Bobby Hanson, and today I am conversating with Fiona Bryan. And I'm really excited for today's episode because it's a little bit different than our other episodes. Fiona is the first guest that I don't have a pre-existing relationship with. Until this point, everybody that I've had on has been kind of as a favor to me. They've been people that I know. And that's what you do when you're building a show, right? And so I find it as an honor that somebody would say, hey, you should have this person on your show. And so very exciting. Haley Daly, friend of the show, also our first podcast guest, referred this amazing loan officer, Fiona, to me and was like, A, you're going to really like her. And B, she just has such an interesting story. And we love interesting stories. And so we are very excited to have her on the show. And so I wanted to start with kind of your introduction. Fiona is an independent mortgage advisor, broker with Empire Home Loans. She's licensed in 4 states. So I don't even want to know what your licensing process looks like, but California, Arizona, Idaho, Hawaii. And when I do my research for all my guests, I always start by looking at their online presence and like what their clients are saying about them. And the words that came up that described Fiona were words like trusted, supported, informed, and responsive. And in my opinion, those are probably the 4 best words, right? That you could have somebody say about you. And so for new people in the industry, that's what you're striving for. That's like how you want people to feel about you as well. And I can just tell she's very relationship based. And so excited to get into that as well. She's also a busy mom. She is very active in her community and she somehow balances it all while building a successful mortgage career. And I just have to say, you have the most beautiful hair. So we'll have to get some hair tips from you before we get out. So if you're new to the industry, buckle up. This is going to be a great episode, especially if you're new to the industry. Remember, success leaves clues. And I think you're going to get a lot of clues here. So Fiona, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We are very excited to have you. And we always start the same way. How did you get into the mortgage industry?
Yeah, so I had a friend who, before I moved to California, I lived in Denver, and our kids went to school together, and she was always on the phone, and she worked from home, and she just always kind of seemed very busy, but also very present. And when I asked her what she did, she said, "I'm a loan officer." And I always had ideas for her about like, oh my gosh, you should go do this. You should do this. This will help you build your business. And she kept telling me, she's like, you should do this. You should be a loan officer. And I was like, no. At the time, I have a background in music. I was working for a nonprofit, doing, some communications and development with them, and very involved with, it was in music education, and that was my thing. I thought, this is what I do. Um, you know, Fast forward to 2018, my husband, my college sweetheart, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And in the nonprofit world, you don't really make a lot of money. And
Really?
living in Southern California, in an area that was pretty expensive, and my kids were in schools, and we thriving, and my main goal was to sort of like, how do I keep them here? How do I not disrupt their life? How do I suddenly go and support my
Wow.
3 kids? And so I basically called her up and I said, okay, I'm ready. I gotta figure this out. If this really is probably the way that I'm gonna be able to earn the kind of living that I would need to be able to take care of my babies. And so I jumped on board at the end of 2018, got licensed. I started at American Pacific Mortgage in April of 2019, and they had a launch pad program, which was like a 12-week boot camp. That's where I met Haley. She was actually one of the instructors. built some amazing relationships at APM, and stayed in retail through well, this August it'll be 3 years since I turned broker.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah,
Okay, we're
and
gonna get into this broker,
yeah,
independent
yeah.
mortgage banker.
But yeah, so that's how I became a loan
Wow.
officer, is that I needed to make money. And I
Yeah.
always thought, I help people. I'm, nonprofit, but that honestly, like, I took to it like instantly. I loved it. I love puzzles. So the
Yeah.
whole idea of like structuring loans, and
Yeah.
I also sort of in that music education side of me really enjoys sort of consumer education, and teaching people like what rates really are, and
Right.
showing them how we can build loans in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
So that was really appealing to me, and I just instantly loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have so many questions. So my first question is just to, applaud you. Like some people, when in hard times, people either crumble or they come out. And so, I am happy that you were able to come into the industry and you liked it, you know. What would you say like the first year was like? Like, how quickly did you get licensed? And then how quickly did you find the
Yeah, I
class?
mean, I got licensed I mean, I was on a mission, right?
Right.
I had a timeline. I had to
Yeah.
really buckle down, and I think when you have to, you do what you have to do, especially when you're a mom, right? My kids are all kind of
Right.
grown and flown now, but at the time, I I had to do it, so I did it quickly. I did the education, I did the licensing, I studied like super fast,
Yeah.
took it, passed it,
Yeah.
um, and then I always knew that I wanted to work for American Pacific Mortgage, because that was where my friend Jody had been. She
Oh,
was a
yeah.
broker by the time I actually ended up going to APM, but I also knew that I wanted to be in that Launchpad program, because I needed the tools. Like I needed to make this happen fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that because that is really what those kind of programs, that's what Learn to Lend, that it is. It's an accelerator program, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Hmm.
you could learn that all of that stuff, but it's going to take you a year, 2 years, 3 years to kind of get those
Right.
basics.
And there are very
So,
few people who want to hold your hand along the way.
right. And you need that. We all need a little hand holding.
Yeah.
So tell like how long did it take you to close your first loan?
So my first loan, I probably closed it. So it was like 6 months.
Okay.
After 6 months, I closed my first loan. And I think the whole plug into your sphere. I mean, I was very fortunate. I was very involved in my kids' school, and so I had a big network, and I worked it. And
Yeah.
my first loan closing was a refinance for a friend of mine. And then also I think also when you're kind of a mom, and I just happened to be very fortunate at a time when our kids were at the age where a lot of women were now going out and becoming realtors. And
Yeah.
so I hooked arms with other people who were also building a business at the time, and
Yeah.
was very, very fortunate along the way to just build some really amazing relationships with others who were also running.
Building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. And so how long has it been now? You said 2018?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going on, I think, 7 years. So 7 years. So I actually officially started working in April of 2019. No, 2018, right? Yeah. Um, so I'm trying to think, because my husband passed away in December of 2019. So it was April of 2019.
Awesome.
No, 2018, April of 2018. Yeah.
Okay. Well, powerful mama. How old are your kids now?
So my oldest is 26. I have a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old and a about a month.
Wa- Wow.
Yeah.
I have little babies, so I just always am shocked when people are like, my babies grew up because I'm like, they're not supposed to do
It
that.
goes by in a flash. I mean, I still kind of can hardly believe it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well, amazing.
yeah.
Was there anything from, and you kind of touched on it, but from the, your previous job, which was educating music, right? So,
Mhm.
and then now you're educating borrowers. So there was kind of like that career almost, really laid a foundation for kind of this career, which I think so
Yeah,
many
I
people
mean,
can relate with.
I think everything that we do sort of lays the foundation as you go, right? And the
Yeah,
way that I got my job, that I, with the music organization, I actually, when my kids were little, I, in early 2000, actually 2000, or yeah, around the year 2000, 2001, when mommy blogging was a thing. I started, I was like, I think I was selling on eBay and I was always doing something. I've always kind of been a little bit of a entrepreneurial spirit. And
yeah,
so I had a mom blog. And so, I sort of had a knack for sales and marketing and that kind of stuff. And I think that those skills have definitely benefited me.
yeah,
Um, and so just sort of, also, I mean, being a mom and just being involved in everything and knowing people and just having a gift for gab
yeah,
really kind of was helpful. So all of those
yeah,
skills.
yeah,
Um, it's really hard to start new things when you're older, but at the same time, I do feel like I had a whole network of people that I just plugged into and
yeah,
I really got vulnerable and asked people for business. So,
yeah. Well, I think you're really hitting on key things that are really important for people that are have passed their test, or maybe they're thinking about passing their test. Because really, the most successful loan officers we see that come in, they have that entrepreneurial spirit. They are go getters. They have some type of sales in their background. Maybe not like finance sales, but I sold Kirby vacuums door to door, right?
mhm.
It's like you have some type of job where you or innately, right? Gift of gab, you're just innately
Yeah,
good at that. But I think those are really good skills to have when you come in because those are the unteachable things, right? We can teach you
right.
the fundamentals. We can teach you what a mortgage is, how to calculate DTI guidelines, all of that. But it is really hard to be like, this is how you sell. If you don't like going out in front of people, which you have to do, you have to be, a billboard really for yourself. And it sounds like you were able to do that pretty naturally. So that's,
Yeah. And I think as time goes by, I mean, I think that's the one thing like I wish I had kind of known or been confident enough in because I just kind of was blindly barreling through was that, I always when my friend was always saying like you should do this, I was like, nah, math was never my thing. And
yeah,
so I think what I really would say is that, you know, the sales piece of it, selling something that you really believe in, like, I mean, being able to help somebody with one of the most important investments of their life.
yeah,
And knowing that I can be a resource, not just for that one loan, but to help them use that loan as a tool,
yeah,
as a financial tool throughout, the life of the loan, and the
yeah.
next loan and all of that. Like, those are the things that when I first started, I didn't realize that I was tapping into.
It feels really good. And unless you've
Mm.
closed a loan, unless you've saved a loan, unless you've closed a loan for somebody who otherwise couldn't have gotten a loan, there really is no better feeling. I mean, it's worth the day to day stress, gray
Yeah.
hairs, you know, anxiety to hand, those. Obviously, we don't give the keys, but to tell them their loan has funded. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
powerful. It is really special. Um, you said something and it left my brain. So I want to talk a little bit about being a independent mortgage banker versus a broker, because this is out there in the world. And especially as new people are getting into the industry, they might not know that they're two different things,
Mhm.
right? They do essentially the same thing, right? They provide loans, but just their environments are different. And you have worked on both sides, right? American Pacific Independent Mortgage Bank, and then now Empire, which is broker. So I was just wondering if you could kind of talk about that, how you feel about it, what you would tell somebody new to the industry if they asked you, hey, which should I do? What's better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a natural progression for me because, again, at the time, I did every loan that came my way. And if there was a way to do it, I was going to find out. And so I brokered loans from pretty much, I mean, pretty early on.
Yeah.
I brokered loans, I did reverse mortgages. I did anything that I could get my hands on. And so for me, the ability to find a loan for anything was really what led me to the broker world. What sort of lights my fire is that again, it's that puzzle, right? So I always tell people you get money different ways when it's for a mortgage, right? You can go to a bank, they're going to lend you their money. They're usually going to service it. Credit union, same thing. You go to, a mortgage banker, we call it retail, and they're going to fund the loan. And most of the time, they're going to either sell the loan. Some of them have servicing arms and such, but for the most part, you're sort of in a little bit of this is what's available, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the broker world, we have access to investors for everything. So that includes non-QM. I've done hard money loans. I've done commercial. I've done, again, anything that came
Yeah.
my way,
Yeah.
I would do. And so I think, for a while, I was the person that people called whenever they ran into trouble. And that was really how I built a lot of my relationships with realtors. Because somebody would tell somebody, oh, you should probably call Fiona, and I mean, I think for me, the people will always say, like, oh, you don't have as much control. Oh, you absolutely do. For me, I'm the client, right? So I
Yeah.
have my processor and we are the client. So the lender is actually wanting me to bring them their loan. So they're going to, they're going to get it done. They're going to, anytime I have any issues, I've got an account executive that is taking care of me. So I'm building relationships now with lenders. So there's another
Yeah.
level of relationship building. And it's incredibly rewarding. I do have probably three or four or five lenders that I sort of it's a go-to because I have a relationship with them, but
Yeah.
I shop rate. I shop rate. So I know I'm always getting my client the best rate that I possibly can for them, for their
Yeah.
situation. And I have the ability to compete without having to get, any kind of concessions from anybody. There's no layers of management. I am me, all of my
Yeah.
money. I can decide
Right.
how much I'm going to make on this loan.
Right.
And so if I really want to compete, I can. I can concede and cut my commission and whatever I need to do to be able to take care of a client, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're I just picture you now as like a mom superhero, and like, you're picking up cars that are falling over. But it's like I don't want to say freedom, but I feel like for somebody like you that is like, I am gonna do what it takes, that broker model is the right choice. Obviously, you're like, I'm not going to tell you that's wrong. But I think that is a really good, I haven't heard it from that perspective broken down that way. And I think it's good and it works. And I know a lot of people that are like, I would never go retail again. I'm a broker. And then I know people that are retailer, like, I never go broker. So
Yeah.
it's always interesting to hear that side, especially if you're thinking about what you're going to do, because it is a choice. You have the choice.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
pros and cons. So
And I don't know that I would ever go back to the retail world just because I've built such a great thing.
Yeah.
But I also understand and have friends who have stayed in that structure, and they do fantastic. And if you look at some of the top loan officers in the country, they
Yeah.
work for mortgage banks,
Yeah.
and they do great. So I think it's really who you are as a person, your personality, and what you need to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have great mentors who are still on the retail side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? It's about you. It's not about the thing. And it's what is your process? How do you want to manage that? Because the other thing on the retail side is, and this is just from my perspective, I've always been on the retail side. And kind of what I hear is just when you're on the broker side, you pay for more stuff out of pocket.
Mm, yeah,
No.
but how
Okay.
many tools do you have that you never use?
Good point. Good
When
point.
I pay for something, it's getting
Yeah.
used.
Yeah. Yeah.
I run a
Because it comes
P&L.
out of your pocket, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I run a P&L, and so I know my expenses. I know exactly what it costs me to do such and
Yeah.
such. I expense things. So, and there are different models on the broker side, depending on what state you are and depending on, I know, a lot of people think, oh, it's a 1099. I'm actually paid a W-2. I pay myself a W-2.
Yeah.
And I have a 401k, I have health
Yeah.
insurance, all of that. So,
Yeah.
but the tools that I pay for, I mean, I use or I drop them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are running it's your business, it sounds like, and you
Mhm.
have the control to do what you need to do when you need to do it. I know some brokers can be 1099 because we bring people over into retail and they're like, what? You can't 1099 me? And we're like, no, you can't. And that's a big
Yeah.
transition. So amazing. Well, you did say the word state, and I want to applaud you for being licensed in 4 states, only because I'm licensed in one. And the amount of work you have to do to stay licensed every year. How do you manage your 4 licenses? Like, do you just not do anything in October?
Well, okay, so it's not that hard, first of all. I
Okay.
didn't realize it wasn't that hard. Because you do your relicensing and then some states require an hour. I believe it's an hour for most of them. I actually only became licensed in those other 3 states this year. And the
Okay. So
reason
it's
I
new.
did was because I had a lot of people that were moving to those states and I was referring a lot of business out.
Yeah.
And so I just figured, okay, well, I'll build a business in those states. To be honest with you, I don't, California is such a big state. I
Yeah.
don't think I needed to do that. I think probably it was a little overkill.
Yeah.
And I probably will reel it back in. I definitely don't think I need to have Hawaii because those people they got it all figured out, and I've got
Yeah.
great contacts in Hawaii
Yeah.
that can take very good care of my clients. So the jury's still out on how that would be. I know lots of loan officers that are licensed in many, 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 many
Many
states,
states.
and
Yeah.
they handle it just fine.
Yeah.
As a broker, you can do DSCR loans pretty much in every state without being licensed in them.
You
So,
can do that on the retail side too,
mhm.
which I was like, that's so interesting. I
Yeah,
mean, we just did my last podcast guest was Josh Gibson, and he's the VP over at MaxX. So we were talking about all of those products and just, you know, it used to be, obviously your standard products, right? Your conventional, your
mhm.
FHA, USDA, VA, and then it was like these stated products, right, that have gone away. And now you have the new product, right? The
They do have no
non-QM.
ratio loans. I did 2 of them this year.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
and there's just so many things out there, and this industry is ever changing, and things are going away and coming back, and
Yeah.
um, just kind of having your finger on the pulse. How do you keep your finger on the pulse with all of the changes and
Ooh. I will say the company that I work with, it has I also have, I guess, I mean, there's a lot of ways, right? One is
Yeah.
just kind of purposely staying plugged in. And I also have a standing 7:30 a.m. mastermind group. And there's
It's
about
commitment. 7:30.
6 or 7 loan officers in there. We're on there every morning. Um, and it's basically structured. We sometimes have goals where we're like learning something new. Like we've done things like Renee Rodriguez, the
I
influence.
love Renee
Yeah,
Rodriguez.
so we did his 30-day thing together. We've read books together. But for the most part, it's sharing updates and whatever. I mean, we're all from different companies. Most of us are broker. I think one person went back to sort of more of a retail model. But it's funny because with correspondent now, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's just a lot of, but I think in the loan world, when you make connections and you surround yourself with other successful people, keeping those relationships is helpful because everybody's picking up on different things.
Yeah.
And then you're able to kind of bounce ideas off of them and them off of you. So
I love that purposeful plug-in. I think that's I'm going to save that for later. I love that. And part of why we built Learn to Lend was around the idea of community, right? And when you're a new loan officer, there isn't really a place for you, right? Because you're not great yet. You're learning. You don't want to bug anybody. You just have a lot of annoying questions, right? You're just
right.
like, I don't want to ask. You're reading the mortgage minutes and it's like a lot of the times it doesn't even make sense, but you're like reading it. So I just, it is so important to have that group of people around you who are going through it, who are um, maybe don't live in the same city as you, that you have that core, a core group of people. I love that mastermind. I mean, 5 days a week at 7:30, you guys are hardcore and no wonder you are successful. Um, but
It
that's
definitely
really great
sets a
advice.
routine for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because most loan officers don't show up in the office until 10, right? That's what they say. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Um, the other thing I do always ask too is I notice that you are a mortgage advisor,
Yeah,
which I love. We have these great titles in the mortgage industry, right?
right.
You're a loan officer, you're a loan originator, you're a mortgage boss, you are you get all these titles. And
Yeah.
I just feel like mortgage advisor is you can't just come in and say, I'm a mortgage advisor. You have to get to a point when you feel really comfortable that you can say mortgage advisor. So, at what point did you kind of change? Were you like, I'm a mortgage advisor as opposed to a loan officer?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look sort of across, like, I think my Google business page says mortgage broker. I mean, some
Yeah.
of it is like, how are people finding me, right? And then
Yeah.
there's at some point, you're trying to market yourself and brand yourself and that kind of stuff. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this sort of experiment right now, Home Equity Ninja. It's got a website, it's got all, and it's like, okay, I'm going to help people with how to use their equity. Um,
Yes.
but I think, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not I don't just call people and give them here's your monthly payment, here's your rate, right? So it is really
Right.
truly advising, and I want to be someone's lender for life. Like I
Yeah.
want to follow their loan through this
Yeah.
house to other loans to, so it's I was evaluating my annual plan and for Q3, Q4, and reviewing where all my business comes from. And most of it comes from either repeat clients or referrals from my clients. I have a lot of realtors that give me referrals, but the bulk of my business really is from those relationships. And so when you advise somebody, you create a relationship that isn't transactional
Right.
as much as, they're not just buying from you one time, right? So,
Right. Well, you hope not. You're like, come back.
yeah.
Tell your
Well,
friends.
and I mean, there are times when it's like, I've been I've lost a loan because, so and so had a cheaper rate or a less rate or whatever, but I had built, a great relationship with them. And for whatever reason, they came back and they refinanced with me because they had used a program that a local bank had that gave them a grant or things like that, right? So
Right.
I think just always kind of being open to it's, I'm here for more than just a loan. Yeah.
Right. Right. Um, so amazing that you have built your business that way and you can see it, right? Trusted, supported, informed, responsive. What are a few things that you do in your process that you feel like allow people to say those things about you? Like, what are things that you're like, every time, I do these things?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's always kind of refining their process.
Yeah.
A big thing for me is communication. And so I have different touch points throughout the loan process, but then afterwards, right? And I think the pre-approval process can be very intimidating for some people.
Yeah.
And throwing around numbers and DTI and LTV and all that stuff. And so I think from the very beginning, I just sort of say like, okay, here's the deal. Like I do this every day and you do not. So let's just make sure you understand everything as we go. And then don't, I'm not going to just throw you a pre-approval letter and be like, hey, go shop. I want you to
Yeah.
keep in touch with me throughout the process. When you're going, like on the weekend, if you're going to a specific house you're excited about, let's run some scenarios. Let's see, especially in this market, we want to be prepared. Like, are we going to have to get creative to figure out how we can compete? And I really try to lend myself as part of a team with the realtor as well. So if somebody comes to me with a realtor and puts us together, I really want to make sure that I'm communicating with that realtor and that we are, taking care of them. So they see us as their advisors,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think also letting them know that, buying a house is a strategy. There's a strategy to it. It's not just your interest rate. There's a strategy to it.
It's so much bigger.
Yeah, it's so
Tip
much
of the
bigger than
iceberg.
that. But I think for me, where that trust comes from is as they're shopping, we're having multiple back and forth. And it's not a phone call or a Zoom every time. Sometimes it's just, I have this really rusty Excel spreadsheet that I created. It works better than any of the Mortgage Coach or MBS Highway or any of that fancy stuff that I've used in
Yeah.
the past. I do use some of those tools, but for the most part, like showing them how, like, don't get stuck on $10,000 in your offer because it's worth $40 a month or it's worth whatever. And they're just kind of like, nobody sits
Yeah.
down and talks to people about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I wonder if, you know, I just want you to think about when you were new and you were having those first few conversations. Like how did what would you say to the people that are now in, having those conversations, or they're scared to get out there, or,
Yeah.
they're waiting until they're ready is my favorite.
I was a sponge. I would watch YouTube. Like Mortgage Coach had some really great, I don't remember who they are specifically, but Mortgage Coach had some great, very generous loan officers that would video themselves going through an application with somebody on the phone, and just really kind of the scripts and everything are fine. Like I don't necessarily stick to a script, but
Right.
speaking, so I actually still remember learning the 1003 in sections, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I still remember like, okay, when we're talking about this, I can ask them questions about their job. But I think if I were to give anybody advice, I would say, it's probably not the healthiest life work balance thing, but I was obsessed with
Yeah.
learning mortgage. And so I just watched a lot of YouTube videos and I asked a lot of questions. And I went into the office. I work from home now, but I went into an office and I would listen to people's conversations. But really, those conversations are out there. There are loan officers that do different trainings, and you don't have to pay $5,000 for coaching to get all of these scripts. Like there are just, I always took advantage also of like um, Torchbearer and all of the different training programs and the coaching programs. Just soaking in all the different processes and scripts and things people would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I have not heard of that myself, but I'll look into it if you think that's a good resource. I always recommend the MGIC videos. I feel like
Hmm.
MGIC training stuff is really great. And of course, Learn to Lend. We want to help people lay that foundation. And I know I told you I was going to take 30 minutes, but I feel like I could talk to you forever. In closing, um, you are a brand new loan officer, no database, no referral partners, no past clients. What are you doing first, and what are you absolutely not wasting time on?
Absolutely making a list of everybody you know. Everybody. Like doesn't matter who they are. You want everybody to know that you are now a loan officer.
Love
Um,
it.
and I'm reaching out to them. It doesn't matter who they are, you're reaching out to them. I mean, your dentist, when you're getting your hair done, make sure your stylist knows that I've done a HELOC for my stylist.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done loans for I pretty much anybody that would listen to me talk. So that's what I would do first.
Okay.
And then one of the things that literally launched me was we did a 30-day challenge where I went online and found every event I could that would be networking related. And I went to them. Um, and then chose which ones were going to work for me, right? So I went to Hermosa Beach Chamber meeting and I met a financial advisor who has been an extremely close partner for me. He had just
Wow.
moved back from New York, was joining his family's firm. We connected. I've never been back to the Hermosa Chamber again.
Yeah.
But that 30-day focus of just going and going to meetup.com and everywhere and just kind of really kind of trying to soak into where people were networking
I
um,
love that.
and visiting all
You guys
those.
hear that? That's a nugget. Write that down.
Yeah.
Sphere of
Meetup.com.
influence.
I'm trying to think of what other, you could even just ask ChatGPT now to make a list of all the places that you can go to network, chamber meetings, Rotary. I joined Kiwanis. I met a realtor through Kiwanis and I've done loans for people in
That's
Kiwanis.
amazing.
So yeah,
That's
just
amazing.
be in
What
your
should they
community.
absolutely not waste time on?
Don't waste negative thought like because I mean it's really a mental game and it's the numbers, the more people you talk to. I mean, it legitimately is. If you keep track of the numbers, the more people you talk to, the more successful you'll be.
Right.
So don't get bogged down in negative. I wouldn't spend money on a lot of like crazy, you know, um, lead program. Don't buy leads. Don't, they're garbage. I wouldn't do that. I mean, unless you're actually designing a funnel that you have designed and tested and know how much you're paying per lead. Like once you get to that level, um, then maybe pay for leads, but I don't think you have to pay for leads. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a different business model. Um, but I don't, yeah, yeah.
Quality
Agreed. We could do
conversations will get you so much
a
further.
whole talk on leads and that, but I
Yeah.
think it's kind of just flashing lights. It's not necessarily real life. Okay. Well, Fiona, this was so much fun. And I think so many takeaways. So stay tuned for the content that we're going to create. And there's just such an encouraging message about you and your story. And Haley was so right. I just feel like you are right where you should be. And we're so lucky to have wonderful people like you in the industry. And thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story and your perspective. and being willing to share all your secrets with our new industry folks. If you have not already subscribed, make sure that you like and follow the show and come back. We have more conversations like this. We're working on putting together some panels through the Facebook page. Hopefully, we can get Fiona on to talk to us. I mean, multiple topics, but we'll pick one. And just really excited to be part of the community. Thank you so much, Fiona, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.